This is the PFL Preview Show.
Welcome in. It is another PFL Preview Show. I am Mike Pendleton with SureDog.com and the On the Mic podcast. And the train keeps rolling. Shortly, just days after their great show in Chicago, where plenty of newcomers stole the show, or fresh blood, I should say. The PFL lands in Belfast, and the man who joins me every single time right before the show, the one and only Dan Hardy. Dan, is quite the weather change going from Chicago to Belfast, is it not?
Yeah, it is. It is. What I will say, I mean, Chicago was beautiful, but it was freezing cold when I arrived there. It's a lot, Tony.
Hello?
Start again, Mike.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can hear Tony's mic open.
Oh, I have her muted. I can't hear her at all.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll start again. No worries. 2 seconds here.
Sorry.
No, you're good. 3, 2. Mike Pendleton here with SureDog.com and the On the Mic podcast, and the train does not stop rolling for the PFL. Coming out of a great show in Chicago where so many young names and fresh blood rose to the occasion in several different divisions. The PFL is now in Belfast, Ireland, where we will see Ireland's best on the center stage. And the man joining me every single time, the one and only Dan Hardy. Dan, big change in weather from Belfast to Chicago, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Chicago. I really enjoyed Chicago. It was beautiful, but it was freezing cold when I arrived. Even though it was sunny from the window, it looked a lot warmer outside. But here, the weather is matching the sky. The sky is very, very dark and overcast, and it keeps pouring it down with rain. But that doesn't matter. Everybody's made weight, and we're good to go for Thursday.
Great card we have featuring. Here's my thing. I'm so biased, and I think you know this. Number one, I love Irish MMA, and it's not just because of the guy who got it all started, for all the casual fans. There are so many fighters on the PFL and formerly Bellator roster who carry those strong, deep roots, and I know we're going to see them on full display here in Belfast. Can you just talk a little bit about Irish MMA and how it feels so much different than most parts in the world?
It's a really interesting thing because there are so few places that are like Ireland as far as a fan base goes, and that extends across sports. And we've seen the Irish fans around the world and what they contribute to the atmosphere, the environment in wherever the competition is. They're very, very passionate sports fans. They don't care who you are or where you're from, as long as you come in and you're giving your best. And the thing I also love as well is that they will stick with their fighters through thick and thin. That is one of the real distinguishing factors of the Irish MMA scene. And as far as the actual fighters and the camps and teams, I mean, it is thriving here. There are so many gyms popping up and relocating to bigger locations. That's something that's happening with Paul Hughes' gym. They're moving into a bigger space. It's still booming. It's one of the places that I go to, and it seems to be growing as fast as it was for many of us years ago. Where are the other areas of the world, it's slowed down a bit, and gyms have settled, and some shows have found their feet, and Ireland is still going. It really is impressive, and the level as well of these amateur fighters. We've got a fight really low down on the card. Owen Mass-Oliver against Shane Mullen. Both guys one fight into their pro career, but there is so much excitement around both of these guys. You've got someone fighting out of Paul Hughes' gym, someone fighting out of SBG, two powerhouse gyms, but two guys that are right at the beginning of their pro career, but were basically amateur royalty. And now we've got these guys facing each other on the undercard. It means that the whole night, from top to bottom of the card, is going to be exciting for the fans.
Belfast is going to be on fire. The card is a fire card. And like I said, it's one of those bucket list items for me is to go, whether it's Dublin, Belfast, wherever it may be. We will not confirm or deny the rumors that I tried to fit into your luggage to get over to Belfast, leaving Chicago. TSA did not appreciate that, and neither did Dan Hardy. But Paul Hughes, a name you've mentioned, not on the card, but what a main event we have in place of it. Darragh Kelly and JJ Wilson. These are some pretty big level fighters, and I think this one has some hidden high stakes in the lightweight division.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is obviously everyone was excited to see Paul Hughes fight again, but I interviewed him yesterday for Between Rounds, and a really interesting conversation, but really, disappointing with him having to withdraw from the card, and he's just excited to get back in there. But this was ultimately the only way forward for him. He had to deal with the injury that he's got. But it creates an opportunity for Darragh Kelly to step into his first main event, his first marquee fight on one of these cards. He's always had a lot of people watching him because I think people realize that his potential is limitless. But an opportunity here to fight in a main card in a main event in Belfast is quite a special opportunity for him. And spoke to him a few times. He seems very, very calm, but very focused on what's in front of him. Same as JJ Wilson. He's a scrapper through and through. Doesn't matter who's in there in the cage. He's coming for the win. But I think Darragh Kelly is ready for this fight, this kind of fight where someone like JJ Wilson, who is as tough or as durable as anybody that Darragh Kelly's faced before, but also has that high level of skill and competition. What JJ Wilson did against Mads Burnell was shocking to me, to be honest. Knowing how good Mads is and how effective he is at almost every single range, I was very impressed with JJ Wilson and his ability to compete with the output of Mads Burnell and also better him in technical areas that I thought he was going to struggle more. And I'll be honest, talking to these guys, we've just done some of the fighter interviews, and JJ Wilson he has all the potential. He probably shouldn't have fought Archie Colgan, having heard about what he went through in training camp and the injury that he sustained and stuff. But I very much feel like this is like the new phase of his career, and I know Darragh Kelly feels like this as well. And with the rankings that we've got now in the PFL, both of these guys can see exactly where they sit. JJ Wilson's in the rankings already. In Darragh Kelly's mind, a win here, and that puts him right into the mix with some of the big names in the division. So although it's not ideal that Paul fell out of the fight due to injury, this is the ideal main event for Belfast. And then we've added Rhys McKee as well against Alex Lahore. You've got another legendary Irish fighter that it's been a while since he fought in Ireland. I think Rhys McKee's walkout alone is going to be something special.
I cannot wait. I was going to ask you about it. I'm glad you touched on it. So let's talk about somebody else on this card. And really quickly, before we get to that, the thing I love is exactly what you're talking about. There was so much, I would say, happiness and pride from both the company and the fans about these new ranking systems that we have. The thing that I'm excited about the most, and I get your thoughts on it very quickly, is so many people had what we call knee-jerk reactions, the initial reactions of why am I here? Why am I not here? Right? But as these first few events played out, we're going to see, we just saw it in Chicago, number 1 and number 2 get dropped off by guys that we didn't expect would be there in the rankings. We're going to see so many rankings shift. I think that's the other exciting part of the rankings is how quickly they can change.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think one thing that is definitely worth stating, and I personally, I don't think the PFL have done a good enough job of stating this, that the rankings are independent. Combat Registry do the rankings. So, because I often get feedback, this ranking and this and blah, blah, blah. And it's important that the fighters and the fans all know that we don't have any input into these rankings. I was actually quite surprised to see Sergio Pettis still at the top of the rankings, at the ones that we just got through. But look, things move very, very quickly. We knew that it was going to take a bit of time for these rankings to shake out and for people to actually find themselves. Not even necessarily in the right place in the rankings, but in the right weight classes. So there's going to be a lot of movement, and I think right now, while it's wide open, fighters like Darragh Kelly can look at this and go, well, JJ Wilson's already ranked in there. I can throw my hat into the mix with a win, and who knows what comes next. with things moving so quickly, he could find himself with a title opportunity before he knows it. So it's easier with the rankings being so fluid, but at the same time, we do need to make sure that they're nailed down and everyone's in the right place.
Yes, Combat Registry are the ones behind the rankings. So stop yelling and leave your fan mail away from the PFL. Now, Dan, we talked about the main event and the co-main event. And Rhys McKee, listen, you're absolutely correct. Starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN app. We can't wait to see the Rhys McKee walkout and the actual fight. But what I can't wait for, I always ask you that one fight you're looking forward to. I'll give you mine and I'll give you yours and we'll get you out of here. This huge matchup as PFL newcomer, a veteran in the sport, Tyson Pedro steps in against former, top dog, Dovlet Yagshamurdov. How excited are you for this heavy-hitting matchup?
I am really excited for this. I mean, Tyson's just a fun fight to watch anyway because he always comes in with the mentality of just try and do as much damage to his opponent as possible. But I'll be honest, since speaking to him yesterday and interviewing him, he seems like a very different fighter at this point. He seems like over the last couple of years, I don't know what he's been through in his life. I don't know what has happened around him, but his time away from MMA, his time spent in boxing, it just seems to have given him some clarity about who he is and what he really wants from the sport, and also what's important to him. He had a very different energy yesterday. I mean, look, watch between rounds. I'm sure it's posting today if it's not been posted already. It's a very, very different version of Tyson Pedro. And I think it's a calmer version of him. I think it's a more calculated version and a healthier version, physically and mentally. And there's no doubt that Dovletson Yagshamurdov is, just an absolute powerhouse. He's shorter than Tyson. He's going to have a reach disadvantage. But the speed and power that he can generate in a short pocket is really what Tyson's got to be watching out for. Tyson Pedro's got to be playing on the outside and utilize his height and reach. Otherwise, Dovlet is going to unleash that power in some way, and Tyson's going to feel it. It's a fascinating fight, probably the most high-level international fight on the card, I would say. But what I do like about it is that it sits in a nice place on the card where it's going to be a good comparison with all the other fighters on the card. Now, I mentioned Owen Massoliver and Shane Mullen. That is going to be a very, very high-level fight, considering they're both one fight into their career. That is going to be an elite level fight. And you're going to see the level of Irish amateur MMA because these guys have just come out of off that circuit. The other one as well that got really fiery at the face-offs yesterday was Alan Philpott against Callum Loughran. Like they just don't like each other. I mean, it's as simple as that. Alan Philpott's doing his open workouts and Callum Loughran's on the side telling him that he looks slow and he looks out of shape and then they switch, and Callum Loughran's doing his workout, and Philpott's going, you'll never hit me with that. And it was joking, but it was also very serious. And then when they came together at the face-off, it was just chat. There was just venom there from both of these guys. I've been using the meta glasses so you can see from my perspective, and you'll see it through the broadcast. Like being that close to the fighters, you see all the little, like the lip twitching and the eyes twitching and anything that's going on with the fighter. I'm close enough, as their opponent is, to be able to kind of see where they're at and what's going on. And both of those guys there's just an intensity to them. I actually feel like, I think that fight's being elevated a little bit on the card purely because of the interest around it. But that for me is the fight with the most animosity in it, and that always makes me excited.
I cannot wait. There's no better primer for any PFL event than this preview show right here. Dan Hardy, I know you're a very busy man. I thank you so much. I need to get a pair of meta glasses, so we got to keep doing this show because your point of view is one of the absolute best. It was an honor and opportunity to keep doing this with you and see you in Chicago this past week. So we will all be tuned in on the ESPN app. PFL Belfast goes down Thursday here in the States, April 16th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And like Dan Hardy said, make sure you check out Between Rounds all over the PFL socials and wherever you can find them. Dan, thank you so much, sir.
Always a pleasure, my friend. I'll speak to you before the Sioux Falls event.
Cannot wait.